your answers. Let's take a look at example number 3. Finding the zeros of a function. Now, to find the zeros of a function, this one here is we have to set the equation equal to 0. Okay? So this is what it looks like. We're going to take that first, it's going to say x minus 1, that quantity times the quantity x plus 2 is equal to 0. Once we have that, we want to apply the zero product property rule, where one of these two factors that's being multiplied has to equal 0. Okay? So let's do this. Let's go ahead and set each of these terms equal to 0 and then solve it. So we have x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now we have a linear equation which are solvable. Okay? So we have x is equal to 1, or x is equal to a negative 2. Right? So the zeros of the function are negative 2 and 1. That's where this function is going to cross the x-axis. That's what it means to find the zeros. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to example number 4. Example number 4, find the zeros of each function. So this one, example 4a, we want to do is we want to find the zeros. Now what we're going to have to do is set this equation equal to 0 first. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this equal to 0. We got negative 2x squared minus 10x minus 12 is equal to 0. Next step is, let's go ahead and factor anything that can be factored out. If you take a look at these, all of these are even, so we can factor out a negative 2. If we do that, what we get inside of the parentheses is x squared plus 5x plus 6. Then we can go ahead and factor that a little bit further. Two numbers that multiply to 6 but add up to 5 are 2 and 3. Now we can set each of these quantities equal to 0 and solve. We get the x is equal to negative 2, and we have the x is equal to 3. So these are the two zeros of the function. This is where this function crosses the x-axis. Okay? So that's part A. Let's move on to part B. Want to play that same game. This is a little bit different. It's going to take a little bit more work, a little bit more steps, not necessarily any harder. Let's set the equation equal to 0. Now you notice that one of them is x squared minus 16. Hopefully you recognize that that's a difference of squares. So let's go ahead and break that up into its two factors. Quantity x plus 4 times the quantity x minus 4. That's what that factors out to. And don't forget about that quantity x minus 1 at the very front. Set each of these terms equal to 0 and then solve. So we end up with x is equal to 1, negative 4, or 4. So this one here is not actually a quadratic, it's a cubic. Crosses the x-axis in 3 different places. So the zeros of the function are 1, negative 4, and 4. At this point, you can go ahead and pause, take a look at what we've done, and then continue on to example number 5. We want to graph this function h of x is equal to